Please kindly react if you can see my screen. Okay, okay. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, very good. So we'll be talking about data analysis and visualization today. So today is just going to be a introductory class about data analysis and visualization. So just telling you guys the basics of how data analysis and visualization works. If you're just joining for the first time, which I hope you are not, you're welcome. My name is Ademola David, also known as Dave World, and I'm a data scientist, an open source contributor, and a front-end engineer, right? So what is data analysis, right? So let's get to understand what data analysis is and what it's about. So data analysis is simply the process of inspecting, cleaning, transforming, and modeling data to discover useful information, draw conclusions, and support decision making. If you're a newbie and you're getting all this complex word, don't worry, just make sure that you're taking note of everything I'm saying so that you can get to revise after the class, right? So basically what this is saying is what data analysis means. Okay, let me just give a scenario, right? So imagine we have a complaint, a sales complaint where we sell different goods and service like cream, we sell perfume, we sell snacks and everything, right? So what data analysis is basically having access to all the data that we have in our market, right? And analyzing them one by one. So let's say we can say, okay, how many packs of biscuits do we have in our supermarkets, right? We can write that down. That's basically analyzing the data one by one, right? So we can say how many um air creams do we have in our store, right? Taking note of all the numbers of data that we have in our supermarkets, right? So every goods we're selling, it either it being biscuits, either it being cream, either it being perfume, everything's are data, right? So taking those data and writing the informations down is basically what is referred to as data analysis. In simple terms, right? We're still going to explore more. So now, importance of various industry, like data is used in the trading industry. Like if you guys are familiar with forex, right? You know forex uses what is it called? Candlesticks, right? To like all right. So we're looking at example here, right? So I just said the forex market. If you guys are familiar with forex market, you should. Emmanuel, kindly unmute your mic. Kindly mute your mic, rather. All right. So if you guys are familiar with the forex market, as I said earlier, so let me try to bring out an example, just to show you guys a picture of how the forex market works. So we can see this my screen, right? We can see that there's you can see this picture. Can you see this picture? Right? So you can see this picture that this picture is basically you can see these red candlesticks and green candlesticks, right? So each candlesticks represent data, right? So the data of how the market went through for that particular time, right? So another example that we have is also healthcare, right? So patient outcomes and stuff like that. We also have in the finance industry, right? Risk analysis, marketing, and consumer behavior. So we have some people joining us. Let me just try to admit them. Okay, welcome, welcome. All right, so let's move on to okay, continuing with what data analysis is, right? So let's go on into types of data analysis. So what are the types of data analysis that we have? So number one, we have descriptive analysis, right? So descriptive analysis just basically means summarizing and presenting your data, right? So that's where you can see. I hope you guys know about measurement of dispersion. If you guys know about measurement of dispersion, you should be familiar with how summarizing of data works. So represented in bar charts. If you know bar charts, you will see that sometimes, or pie charts, when you're giving exercise in your class, then right, you'll be given some figures, and you'll be told to represent them using pie charts. Where you draw a circle, then you can see maybe the half box 50% represent this data, and the second 50% represent the other data, right? So that's what descriptive data analysis is. So you have someone joining us. Welcome. All right, moving on. We also have exploratory data analysis, right? So exploratory data analysis has to do with investigating patterns and relationship. So mostly it's always called EDA when we start Python, or when you start um, data visualization in Power BI, you're going to get to understand EDA very well. So EDA is also known as exploratory data analysis. So it's just a way where you take your data and you get to explore the data, right? So imagine you're given a very large data set. You're going to explore that. Okay, so what was the total amount that was made from these data sets, right? You can get to explore the total number of goods and services that we have in the data set. So that's just what exploratory data analysis is. Also, we also have inferential analysis, right? So this one is based with making predictions and inferences, right? So mostly this is always done by data scientists, where you get to take the data. Both inferential analysis and predictive analysis is mostly done by data scientists, right? Where they get to take the data and explore it more, right? So they take the data set and get to say, okay, based on the analysis that we had for the past month, we can predict what will happen this next month, right? So imagine you were told to analyze a data set, and you saw that, okay, for the past month, we sold, let's say we sold, what biscuits can I use now? Okay, we sold digestive. We sold over 200 digestive, and Norios, we sold like over 20 Norios, right? So what a data scientist will now do is to do not say, okay, based on this previous analysis that we did before, we can see that customers are interested in buying digestive compared to Norios. So they're not going to advise the user, the owner of the product, that okay, based on our previous analysis, we can infer that customers customers prefer buying digestive compared to Norios. So we can add more digestive products to our next sales in the upcoming months, right? So that's just what inferential analysis and predictive analysis is, right? So now let's go into tools and technology. Don't forget, we are still talking about data analysis now. We've not dived into data visualization. So let's talk about the tools and technologies that we need for data analysis. So the first tool you're going to really need, and it's very, very popular, is what we call Excel, right? I'm sure you guys are familiar with Excel. If you're familiar with Excel, let me see some reactions here. Okay, we can see some reactions. Nice. So basically you're going to really need that's the core skills that you need to become a data analyst, right? You have to know how to use Excel very well. So we can see, are people joining? Okay, let's go on. So you have to know how to use Excel very well, right? So Excel is basically used for basic analysis and visualization also, right? So you can use Excel to quickly tell what is the total sales that we had in this particular month, or stuff like that. So, but Excel has limitations, right? Because it said that Excel has limitations of data sets that it can handle. So the other platform I'm going to be using, the other tool you're going to be using is Python, right? So Python was brought into this because where Excel limit reaches, right, Python can continue from there. So Python can basically do advanced stuff of what Excel does, right? So the basic libraries for Python is known as pandas and numpy. If you know about pandas and numpy, you should be familiar with it, right? So numpy is basically used for numerical Python, right? And pandas is basically used for data manipulation. So the other tool that you might want to learn is R, right? So most people would advise you to pick either Python or R. So R was majorly built for statistical analysis, right? But Python has a different variety of uses, right? It can be used in the web dev industry, it can be used in the gaming industry, it can be used in the software development industry, and so on and so forth, right? So the last one you are going to need is also SQL. Don't forget, for data analysis. For data analysis. So SQL is known as structured query language, right? Please make sure you take note of the keywords I'm saying here, because you're going to need it for that class, right? So SQL stands for structured query language, and it's basically used for database querying. Like when you have large database and you want to query, you want to fetch from different database, that's where SQL come in. So moving on, let's go into introduction to data visualization. So what is data visualization, right? So I have in my slide there that seeing is believing, and I'm sure you all are going to agree with me, because if you're just telling me stories and I can't see results, like I can't see visually what you're saying, I might not fully understand, right? So that's where data visualization come in. So what is data visualization, right? So data visualization is just the representation of data graphically to identify trends, pattern, and insights, right? So as I said earlier, we have different like pie charts, we have bar charts, we have histograms and stuff like that. So the reason why the reason why we have those is basically to see our data visually, right? To see our data visually. So it's also important in communication and decision making, right? And it said that human brain processes visuals faster than text, right? And I'm sure you're going to believe that also, because imagine you're having a very large data set and all you can see is a bunch of numbers and digits, right? Compared to seeing a picture that has graphical representations of those data sets, right? So also it enhances communication of insights to non-technical stakeholders, right? So imagine that a data analyst you were given to analyze the data, and after all you brought was total sales for the month 3,800, 380,000 naira, right? Total sale for the week, you're just writing text, 400,000 naira, stuff like that. So it's better to have them visually, because why? It's enhanced communication of insight to non-technical stakeholders, right? So now let's go into types of data visualization. So we have charts, right? So example of charts, we have bar charts, we have line charts, we have pie charts. I'm sure you're familiar with bar charts. That's the circle one. You're familiar with um you're familiar with line chart, and you're familiar with pie chart, right? So also we have graphs, right? So we have scatter plots, we have histogram. You get to know all of this when we start the Excel visualization and also Tableau or Power BI, right? You get to know all of this. So just get your head around it first. So we also have maps, right? So example is a map of Nigeria, right? Map of Nigeria is used to represent is a graphical representation of the countries, if you agree with me, right? Because we have that, okay, maybe in Nigeria, this particular side represents Lagos. I can see how small Lagos is. This side represents Kano. So those are data graphical representation, right? And also we also have dashboards, right? So dashboards is basically a consolidated view of multiple visualization. So dashboard is where you have, like, let's say you are analyzing a data set now, and we are given to make a dashboard, right? So a dashboard is going to comprise both line charts, bar chart, everything in a whole. So as you can see this picture here, this is a dashboard, because it has pie chart, it has line chart, it has histogram and stuff like that. So dashboard is basically the overview of everything, right? So get used to that. So now we've looked at the tools that data analysts would basically use. So now let's dive into the data visualization tool. But before I continue, do you have any question? Does anyone have any question? If you have any question, kindly raise up your hand below. I can see the chat. Oh, someone is saying I can't hear anything. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, okay, very good.
I don't know about others, but I can hear you.
All right.
We can hear
So,
you,
do you
sir.
have any other questions? Should we continue?
Yes, I can hear you too.
Okay, are you guys following?
Okay.
Okay, we have some people joining the call. All these my late comers. Um, no question. So if there's no question, we're just going to continue with the class. So let's look at the tools that data analysts basically use, right? So number one, we have this for visualization now. Now, I mentioned tools for data analysts. So let me just ask a quick question. What are the tools that a data analyst need to have? So anyone want to answer that question? Anyone? What are the tools required for a data analyst?
One of them is Excel.
Excel, very good, very correct. Excel. Another person, Python. All right, the person that mentioned Python, what are the libraries that we need under Python?
Under Python, we have to two things we need to pandas and normal py.
NumPy. You said NumPy. Okay, it's called NumPy, right? So that's very good. They're very correct. I like that. So what is the usefulness of NumPy and pandas?
NumPy is used for numerical Python. Why
Very good.
why pandas are used for oh I don't remember. I think yes.
It's basically used for data manipulation, but that's very good for a beginner like you to answer that question. That's very good, right? So you might have seen people saying about NumPy, pandas, Seaborn, Matplotlib. Don't worry, we're going to cover everything in this course, right? So NumPy is used for numerical Python, right? So imagine you want to calculate, all these matrices, like who have done matrix in that course before. So you know about matrix, stuff like that. So those numerical computation, that's what NumPy is used for, right? Why pandas is used for data manipulation, right? So imagine you want to open your Excel file, you want to read the table, you want to check out some other things, right? So that we use pandas for. Pandas is for data manipulation. All right. So any other person, we have some tools that people have not mentioned yet.
We have
So any
structured
other person?
query language, SQL.
Very good. So what is SQL used for? I think I need to know the people that answer my question, sir, because I don't know who is talking. So if you want to answer my question now, you're going to have to say your name and then answer the question. So who said SQL? So someone said SQL. You don't want to talk again.
I'm with you, sir.
Okay. So what's SQL for? Okay, that's Fola Shayo, right? So what's SQL for?
Well, you said for database querying, for querying management or someone, I can't really remember.
All right. That's correct. Just to be clear, SQL is for querying databases, right? Very good. I think you guys have. We have a very nice class here. So let's move on. So let's look at tools for data visualization now, right? So number one, we have Tableau, right? So Tableau is basically used for interactive and shareable dashboard, right? So basically we have two, Tableau and Power BI. They are very popular. If you know about it very well, you should know what I'm talking about. So we have Tableau and we have Power BI, right? So they're almost the same thing, but they have slight difference, right? So basically Tableau is mostly used for interactive and shareable dashboard, right? So when it comes to interactiveness, like when you over on a particular dashboard to see the particular amount that is showing within that chart, Tableau is very good at that, right? So Tableau is very good at interactive and shareable dashboard. While Power BI is mostly used for business analytics and reporting, right? So Tableau can also do what Power BI can do, and Power BI can do what Tableau can do, right? But they have slight limitations. So Tableau is actually paid for. The only way you can use Tableau is to use Tableau Public, right? And Tableau Public means whatever dashboard you make or whatever analysis you do is going to be made publicly, right? If you want your dashboard to be private for companies and stuff like that, you would have to subscribe for premium, right? So, but Power BI is mostly free to use. Power BI was invented by Microsoft, right? So if you've used Microsoft Microsoft Word, if you've used Microsoft Excel, if you've used PowerPoint, you should be familiar with Power BI also, right? So the other tools you're going to need for visualization is Matplotlib, and Matplotlib is a library under Python, right? So Matplotlib is basically for data visualization also, right? So if you notice that I mentioned over here that we're using Python for data analysis also, right? So, and we're using Excel for data analysis too. So what I want you to know is Python can basically do what Excel can do and what SQL can do, right? So let's say in Excel is basically used for analysis and visualization too, right? Python can also do that, but in a more advanced way, right? So what just differentiates them is libraries, right? So the libraries that we make use of in Python. So we have Matplotlib. Don't forget we have NumPy and Pandas. There are libraries also in Python. We also have Matplotlib. Matplotlib is also a library in Python, right? So the library is used for data visualization. We also have Seaborn, right? So what Seaborn is for, Seaborn is also for data visualization, but it was built on top of Matplotlib for advanced data visualization, right? We also have some other libraries like Plotly. So Plotly is for interactive data visualization, and that's what Tableau does, right? So Python is very powerful because it's a programming language. So Python can basically do everything that Tableau, Power BI, SQL, Excel is doing, right? But the advantage is just that it's better to focus on one than to know everything, right? So those library have their own limitation. Like you can't compare um a library an SQL library in Python to be more better than SQL itself. SQL that is just standalone language for structuring database, and not expecting that okay, a library under Python will be better than it. No, it's not possible. But it can mostly do what SQL can do. I hope you guys are getting me right. So for Tableau too, Tableau was majorly built for data visualization, right? It was majorly built for that, nothing else. So you can't expect a library that is under Python like Matplotlib for visualization or Seaborn to come out be better than Tableau or Power BI. No, it's not possible. But they can they can do some basic tasks that um S, they can do some basic tasks that Tableau or Power BI can do. I hope you guys are getting me right. So we also have ggplots. So ggplot is for R basically, and ggplot is for data visualization in R programming language, right? So it's advisable to learn either Python for your data analyst tool, or you learn R. So you can pick one of the two, right? But Python is more beginner friendly. That's why. And if you look at the job market out there, it's very obvious that company requires you to have knowledge of Python compared to R, right? Some companies also request for R, but majorly most companies request for Python compared to R, right? So now let's look at the process of analyzing, of data analysis and visualization, right? So once you're given a data set, what are you supposed to do next? What is the next step, right? So first thing is to define objective and questions, right? So let's say you're given a data set of, let me see, what example can we use here? So let's say you're given a data set of the student of MTH 101 in Obafemi Awolowo University, right? So first, you have to define your objective and questions. Like, okay, I'm giving this data set now. What do I want to do? What do I want to achieve from this data set, right? So that's the questions coming like, okay, we want to see how many total students do we have in the MTH 101 department of Obafemi Awolowo University, right? So let's say 100 level now. So how many total students do we have? How many male do we have? How many female do we have? So those are the questions we want to answer, right? And how many people are offering MTH 101? So those are questions you have to ask, right? So why do you really want to carry out this data analysis or and visualization process? So that's the first question you have to ask yourself. So the second one is how you can now collect the data and how you are going to clean the data, right? So basically, the second one is data collection and cleaning. All right. So data collection and cleaning, right? So that's where stuffs like, okay, so we have this data set now. How many non-values do we have here, right? How many values are not looking accurate? What do we have to do next? So that's where data collection and cleaning comes in. So the next one is what we call exploratory data analysis. I mentioned earlier, right? So data analysis and okay, somebody is asking something. I can't see it. Can you guys still see my screen, please? Please kindly signify if you can see my screen. Okay, so what's wrong? I think I mean if you're not seeing my screen, then that means you have to disconnect and connect again to see my screen very well, right? So moving on. So the next step we have is exploratory data analysis, right? So what is if you guys have any question, just make sure you raise your hand so that I can answer you guys very well. So what is exploratory data analysis? I said it before, that is basically exploring your data set, right? Looking at the insight, like what is the total number? It's just brief analysis of your data sets, right? So you're going to look at, so imagine you're asked something like, what is the total number of students we have? What is the total number of students that are offering a particular course, right? So you can quickly get to explore the data set and check that. So that's why it's called EDA. You explore the data set, right? You get to answer the questions that you were given, right? So after you explore the data set, then you can now go ahead and do your data visualization, right? So based on what you've explored, you can now go ahead and say, okay, let's create a chart of the total number of students that we have, of the total number of students that are offering this course and stuff like that. So after you've done that, so the last thing to do is now to interpret and communicate your findings, right? So you can now say, okay, so based on this analysis that we've done, this is what is expected. This was the total result of the value that we have, right? So are you guys with me? If you guys are with me, please let me see thumbs up. Okay, all right, very good, very good, very good. All right, so I want us to quickly do something now. Do we have any question first before I proceed? Do you have any question? Okay. So since there's no question now, so I want us to go to LinkedIn. Who knows LinkedIn here, right? So if you don't know LinkedIn, LinkedIn is basically a place for the job market, right? So let's go to LinkedIn. I guess I'll have to create an account before I can access this, but let's see if we can access it. So let's search for data analyst jobs, right? So since we already have an idea of what data analysis and visualization is, so let's look at the job market out there. Let's look at what they're asking for and let's see if we are in line, right? All right, so we have data analyst role in weight renewables. So we're going to look at the description of the job and the job summary. All right. So let's look at this. Can you guys see my screen, please? Kindly signify. Can you see my screen? Okay, very good. So we have this job market here. right? So this a job market from What Renewables Nigeria Limited, right? So they said they're looking for a data analyst, right? So this is 30 days ago, which is quite a long time. So if you're in this tech space and you want to get job ASAP, you have to stay updated. Like immediately the job is dropping, you have to make sure that you align with it, you apply as soon as possible. So let's look at the job description. So they said data analyst at What Renewable Nigeria's Limited, right? Software and data, right? So Lagos full time, energies and utilities. So the salary range is 250,000 naira to 400,000 naira, right? So just these basic things we've talked about. Imagine that paying somebody 250,000 naira to 400,000 naira, which is making sense for a month in Nigeria. At least if you're earning over 250,000 naira to 400k, I mean that's still something in Nigeria now. So I mean it's more than the 33k that are paying my. So it's more than the average salary. I think the average salary now should be 70k or thereabouts, right? So so they said easy apply. So they say it's easy apply, right? So new 2 weeks ago. So the job summary. So they said we are looking to hire a data analyst who will be responsible for collecting, analyzing, and interpreting complex data to extract valuable insights. Don't forget, that's one of the major tasks of a data analyst, to analyze data and produce meaningful insights, right? I said that at the beginning of the class. So to support strategic decision making with a strong background of data analysis, statistical methods, and programming, right? So let's look at the minimum qualification: a degree, experience length 2 years, which does not really matter, right? Um, so they said um, minimum qualification. Now, if you notice, they said degree. They did not say computer science. They did not say statistics. They did not say IT or anything. They said degree. That's degree, right? So even if you are studying MCB and you dive into data analyst role, you can still get job, right? It does not matter any course you are studying. As far as you have the right skill sets, you are good to go. So now let's look at the requirements, because if you don't have this requirement, obviously you can't get the job. So let's look at the requirements. So they said collect and clean large data sets from various sources, ensuring data accuracy and integrity, right? So you can see we've talked about it already. We've talked about the responsibility of a data analyst. You must be able to collect and clean data sets, right? So majorly when you're collecting data sets, it's majorly like from different database, right? So they said analyze complex data sets using statistical method, data mining techniques, and advanced analytics tool, right? So let's look at if they ask for any advanced analytics tool here. So you can see it's here. So they said proficient in SQL. SQL, you know what SQL is now, right? So they said Power BI, Tableau, Python or R. If you remember, I said it that most company requires either you know Python or R, one of the two, right? It's very rare to see a company that is going to ask you to know both Python and R. No, it's not. It's not really possible. Um, it does not really occur like that. Do you get? So they said advanced level Excel. So you must know Excel very well, and you didn't know that for data analysis, you must know Excel, right? Very, very important. Jupyter Notebook and SAS. Don't worry about this Jupyter Notebook. We'll get to explore it when we start the Python class. So Jupyter Notebook is majorly an IDE for Python, where you write a Python code, right? So once we start introduction to programming and Python for data analysis, you're going to get to understand what Jupyter Notebook is, right? So let's go back to the job requirements. So they said develop data models, algorithm, and statisticals to support analysis and reporting to identify trends and patterns, right? So don't forget what is let's go back, let's backtrack a little bit to um data analysis, right? Don't forget process of inspecting, cleaning, transforming, and modeling data to discover useful information, draw conclusion, and support decision making, right? So those skills are very important. Once you can have them, you can start is in the requirements, right? So you can see responsibilities, what you'll be doing in the job role, right? So you have to collaborate with cross-functional teams, which is very something that you would get yourself used to. Identify data's quality, issues, and work relevant teams. Stay up to date, contribute to development and improvement, develop and maintain dashboards. I explain what dashboards are, and report to track key performance indicators, right? So I'm just trying to brief you guys about the basics, right? The basics of what you need to know as a data analyst, right? So once you can know all these basics, I'm telling you, 6 months after you've done project, you can start applying for jobs and stuff like that, right? So let's go to the responsibility. Now, they not they not give you in details here, right? So the requirement in details. So they said bachelor's degree in data science, statistics, computer science, or related field, right? So they did ask for master degree, but they said master degree preferable, right? So there are different companies with different roles, right? So yeah, they're saying you must have a related degree to either data science, statistics, computer science, and stuff like that. But trust me, with my years of experience, if they can see that your past project is really making sense, they can see the works you've done before, they can see you know what you're applying for. I mean, it does not matter, right? So this first one with bachelor of degree of this thing is not really important like that. So we're going to see it in other um job requirements that we're going to be checking also. So they said, excited about the prospect of working as a fast-paced, dynamic environment with a portfolio of clients and projects that is quickly growing. So proficient in use of SQL, Power BI, you should be used to this already. So strong knowledge of statistical methods, right? So when they're talking about statistical methods, it means you must know how to interpret your data sets. You must know how statistics works in general, right? So strong attention to details, blah blah blah, stuff like that. So let's look at the entire example, right? So let's look at Kuda now. Look at this Kuda Bank, right? But this is a HR data analyst role, which is not specifically a data analyst role, but an HR role, right? Hiring manager, right? So let's look at what they asked for here. Um, blah blah blah. Let's look at the responsibilities or requirements, rather requirements. So this one now, you said they did not ask for computer science or statistics, right? They just said years of working experience as a data analyst or similar position. You see that it's not all the companies that works for computer science or everything like that. So let's look at and that's what they ask for again. Have development experience with business intelligence tools like what Looker, Tableau, or Power BI. So Looker is also a tool for data visualization, right? But most companies would rather ask for Tableau and Power BI compared to Looker. You can see that the first one we didn't see Looker there, right? But this one that's for Looker, right? So and they said Looker, Tableau, or Power BI. So if you know one of the three, I mean, you're good to go. So we also have high proficiency in SQL and Excel, right? You can see that yeah, they're not really asking for Python, right? So it depends on the company requirements. Do you get it? So let's look at this last one. This 5 days ago, right? This Kuda Bank was 2 days ago, right? So this 5 days ago. So you guys can see that we're on track. So let's look at focus on blah blah blah. Let's go ahead and look at the requirements. So they said bachelor degree in mathematics. So this one they're asking for mathematics, computer science, and stuff like that. 6 to 7 years experience. So trust me, if you are seeing companies that are asking for 7 years, 7 years experience, 6 years experience, then know that the job is going to be okay. Do you have any question? Okay, we have 15 minutes left. All right, so let's look at the key requirements. They're asking for Excel, XPSS, R. So you can see this one asking for R, right? So R, Tableau. They did not ask for Power BI here, right? So those are basically the tools that you just have to know, right? So once you can know what you have to learn, then when you're learning the journey, when you're learning everything, it's going to be crystal clear to you. You already have the roadmap and everything. So basically, just know what you need to learn, then learn it, build projects, and start applying for jobs, right? So let's look at example of a dashboard here, right? So we've said the process of data analysis and visualization. So let's look at dashboard here. So you can see this dashboard example, right? So you can see that we have line charts. We have this progress bar, 98%. That's green. That's almost full. you can see 9.8%, right? So basically, you can see that when you can see something visually, you can basically tell that, okay, this is what this data set is talking about, right? So imagine you were just given to look at just a bunch of data sets with just numbers and values, right? It's going to be very, very difficult for you to identify trends and pattern, right? But with providing dashboards, you can see that you can easily say that, okay, what states had the highest complaints? You can see that, okay, this one is showing green very well. California is showing green. PL is showing green very well. I don't know if you guys can see my screen very well. Let me just zoom in. So you can see PL, GA, Texas, and everything. So once you can have a graphical representation of your data set, then trust me, it's going to be very easy for clients to review your work, right? So we have complaints by product, right? You can see that the highest complaint is what credit card, right? You can't see this majorly just looking at your data set, right? It's not possible like that, right? So that's why data visualization is very, very compulsory in data analysis. So let's move forward now. So the skills require technical skills, statistical analysis, as we saw in the job market, the programming, proficiency in tools also. So soft skill, you must know how to communicate very well, right? You must know how to think critically, and you must have problem solving skills, right? So lastly, you must have the ability to translate technical findings for non-technical stakeholders, right? So you must have the ability to interpret complex data to be as simple as you can explain it to be for non-technical stakeholders, right? So imagine you're explaining a particular project for someone and you just come in with just data sets, right? So most people are familiar with pie charts, with bar charts, with line charts. So once you can represent your data set very well in dashboards, right, it will be very, very easy for stakeholders to understand what you're saying. So I hope we're clear. So finally, let's look at the career paths, right? So career paths in data analysis and visualization. So you can either become a data analyst, right? So data analyst focuses on analyzing and interpreting complex data sets. Is a career path for data scientists too, right? So data scientists combine statistical programming and domain knowledge, right? So you must know how to analyze data very well, then know how to predict those data very well, right? So it can also be used in the business intelligence role, right? You can use to transform raw data into actionable insights. And also, if you want to become a data engineer, also you must know the basics of data analysis and visualization. So that brings me to question. So do you guys have any question? Any question? Okay. Question. All right. We have Abdul Fatai and okay, this is Abdul Fatai. Okay, let's hear you.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Uh, while we were discussing, while you were teaching us, I discovered one or two things. So the first one is, uh, while we're going through the like why some companies were looking for a data analyst and so on, we saw something like okay, bachelor degree. Although with the way virtually what we can see, I can say it is not compulsory for some company. Why for some company it is very compulsory. So I'm saying now, if we have to consider the fact that okay, we want to learn, I'm a newbie, so very new to this. So and now, is it just easier for us to learn Python, Excel, and R?
Okay, is that a question?
That's my first question, sir.
All right. So firstly, I would like to point out that I would like to point out that we just looked at 3% jobs out there out of thousands jobs, right? So
Yes,
I
sir.
just quickly showed you guys just three complaints, right? There are other complaints too. If you go ahead and explore LinkedIn and check about the job market out there, you would see that some companies does not require bachelor degree, right?
Yes,
So
sir.
you see that some companies does not. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. So some companies does not require bachelor degree. So why you saw that is just basically due to, okay, something is happening. It's just due to the requirement of that particular company, right? So if you're a newbie, that's why this platform was created for you guys, right? So don't worry, we're going to guide you guys through the basics of Excel from scratch, right? Excel, Power BI, SQL, Python, right? You're going to get started from the introductory part, right? From the beginners part. So we're going to take you guys along from beginners to to where you would have to get to before you can start applying for jobs and building projects on your own, right? So just be rest assured, you're very fine. So did that answer your question?
Yes, sir. That's my question, sir.
All right. So we have Evaristus, please. Let's have a question.
Good afternoon, sir. Uh,
Good
my
afternoon,
question is
Evaristus.
this: the analysis, is it always 100% accurate or something very close?
Accurate in what aspect?
And when you analyze, when you are given a job to analyze, the analysis, like the example you showed there, credit card, this thing, is it always like 100% in the analysis?
100%. I don't really get your question, but
Like when you ask now,
basically once okay.
like the students, let's use the MTH01 example you made the other time. The students offering
Okay.
that course, when you ask to analyze the student, the number of students offering the course, is it always like 100% that you get it?
Yes, now, so based on the data set you are given, once you can analyze the data set very well, that's why in the process of data analysis and visualization, data cleaning is very, very important because if you don't clean your data very well, trust me, you're not going to have accurate results. So that's why I mentioned this process for you guys, right? So those process is very, very important. Once you can follow this process when you want to analyze data, then trust me, your result is going to be as accurate as it can. All right, so we have somebody saying that, sir, can you send the note after the class so we can check the ones we're unable to write down? I mean, sure, the recordings are going to be provided on the YouTube channel, so you can go ahead and go through the video again, watch it if you need to backtrack on anything. And yeah, so that's it. So do you have any other question? All right, all right, all right. So basically, most classes are going to be lasting for just 1 hour. We're not going to take much of your time, and trust me, it's going to worth it, right? Because don't forget, I said you should not miss introductory class. It's very important, right? So we're going to have introductory class of Excel, we're going to have of Power BI, of SQL, of Python, and everything. So make sure you don't miss the introductory class, right? It's very, very important. And for those that want to, for those that have any questions to ask, don't forget you can always ask your question, message any of the admin that are going to reply to you. And just a quick tip, make sure you always check the Inox Uptech WhatsApp group because updates are going to be dropped there weekly or daily. Just make sure you check it every day, right? Just to stay updated. So if no one has any question, so we're going to be ending the class here. Thank you for joining. Um, so I see all of you that joined, Ayobami, Adedeji, Adewumi, Jones, Ahmed, Emmanuel, Evaristus, Fortune, Greatness, Ikma, Janet, Amid again, Folashayo, Olariwaju, Olashupo, Peace, Philip, all of you. I see you guys, and well done, guys. So don't forget you have in next class introduction to data and data types on Friday. So don't miss that, and see you guys at the other class, guys. So bye.
Bye,
Right,
sir.
thank you.
Goodbye, sir.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for the class.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.